sits straight up and down, the delineation of the magnetic field is 11.5 degrees. Now there's something perfect about this 11.5 degrees, because 11.6 and 11.4 wouldn't do it. What it does is that it creates navigation. At 11.5, the magnetic field is stable and it allows compasses to work. And GPS systems and everything that we do out in the stars today is all done on the positioning of this magnetic field. But what is interesting is this magnetic field that runs like this. A famous physics professor called Dr. Thomas Barnes in the 1970s did a study, and he noticed that this magnetic field was what's the word I'm looking for? Entropy. It was losing its 5% of its magnetic field every single year. No, I mean every single decade. That's huge. Century. My bad. 100 years. Every 100 years, the magnetic field would lose 5% of the magnetic field. And what he did is that whenever lava or hot ash dries, there's two elements, copper and gold, that will line up a certain way according to the magnetic field. And so when you look at when you take these little pieces like this, it cools in the direction of the magnetic field, with one of them pointing to the north and one of them pointing to the south. And so he was able to find stuff all the way back to 1835, that proved the same point. And then so he took his experiment even farther back. He went back to a known volcanic eruption in the early 1800s, at the beginning of the 1800s. No, excuse me, not the 1800s, at the beginning of the 800s. And when he went there, it was over 1,000 years ago. When he tested the magnetic field for that, he found that it was 40% higher stronger than it is today, just within 1,000 years. So right off the bat, what does that tell you about the magnetic field that used to keep going into the past? At 10,000 years, the magnetic field was so strong that it would have just simply melted the earth. So according to his studies on this, life was impossible 10,000 years ago because the magnetic field would have been too strong. Well, if you look at the Bible, God says that He created the earth somewhere between 6,500 and 10,000 years ago, somewhere, depending on how you want to follow all the lineages that are given. And it's interesting is because obviously the evolutionist says, well, we know that at certain times in years that the magnetic field shifts. What is north and south, they will reverse themselves, depending on what kind of cooling conditions we have in the molten magnet that lies right underneath the earth. And so this same scientist says, okay, and the evolutionists said that they wanted to say, well, each one of these periods is 1 million years. And so over 1 million years, you have the reversal of the fields, and magnetic fields are recharged and everything like this. But what he proved, and that the evolutionists still can't answer to today, is he simply went back to the time of the flood and began to look at the same type of horse apples, and he says that reversal with the earth being covered with water and the cooling that would have on the magma that lived on the surface, that reversal of the points happened almost weekly. So the idea that it was over every millions of years, it was proved not to be possible. So there's an evidence for that. The second evidence